Why do the strongest warriors never fight? The answer lies not in their strengths, but in their understanding. They know something that escapes most minds. They know that true power comes not from conquering others, but from conquering the storm that rages within. You live in a world where everyone believes their emotions belong to other people. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly your peace belongs to them. A colleague speaks harshly, and instantly your serenity is in their hands. Your boss criticizes your work, and without question you hand over your inner calm. This is the greatest lie ever told. Your anger is not caused by others. Your frustration is not the result of external circumstances. Your irritation is not born from what people do to you. Every single emotional reaction you experience is a choice. Most people have simply forgotten they have this choice. Think of a mountain that has stood for 1,000 years. Storms rage around it, winds howl against its face, rain pounds its surface, lightning strikes its peak. Yet the mountain remains unmoved, not because it fights the storm, but because it understands its own nature. It knows that storms are temporary. It knows that its essence cannot be disturbed by external conditions. You are that mountain, but most people live as if they are paper boats on a turbulent sea, tossed about by every wave, controlled by every wind. They have forgotten their true nature. They have accepted the illusion that peace depends on circumstances. Watch a child throw a tantrum when they don't get what they want. Watch an adult rage at slow internet. Watch a driver scream at red lights. Same energy, same unconscious reaction, same surrender of inner authority to external events. The child believes the toy controls their happiness. The adult believes the internet controls their peace. The driver believes the traffic light controls their mood. All of them are wrong. Here is what most people never realize. Between every stimulus and every response, there exists a space. In that space lies your freedom. In that space lies your power. In that space lies your power. In that space lies your choice. Most people live their entire lives without ever noticing this space. They experience something and immediately react. No pause, no consideration, no conscious reason, no conscious choice, just automatic response like a machine programmed to perform predictable functions. Someone insults them, immediately. Someone ignores them, feelings arise instantly. Someone ignores them, feelings arise instantly. Someone disagrees with them, responsive reactions engage automatically. They have become prisoners of their own programming. But you can choose differently. The ancient masters understood this truth. They spent years training, not their bodies but their minds. Not to fight external enemies, but to minds. Not to fight external enemies, but to master internal reactions. They knew that whoever controls their inner world controls their entire experience of life. Consider the nature of anger itself. What is it, really? It is nothing more than a story you tell yourself about what someone else's behavior means. It is an interpretation, a judgment, a choice to see threat where there might be none. Someone speaks loudly, and you decide they are being aggressive. Someone doesn't respond to your message, and you decide they are ignoring you. Someone offers feedback, and you decide they are attacking you. These are all choices, interpretations, stories you create about neutral events. The same situation that triggers rage in one person creates curiosity in another. The same words that devastate one mind inspire growth in another. The same circumstances that destroy one person's peace strengthen another person's resolve. Why? Because peace and anger are not found in circumstances. They are found in choices. Most people believe that controlling their emotions means suppressing them. They think mastery means doing anything. This is not mastery. This is numbness feeling. This is numbness. This is another form of prison. True mastery means feeling everything while being controlled by nothing. It means experiencing the range of human emotion worlds later. It means acknowledging anger, becoming emotion. It means acknowledging anger without becoming angry. Recognizing irritation without being irritated. Noticing frustration without being frustrated. The emotion arises. You observe it. You acknowledge it. You choose your response. This is the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic, unconscious, mechanical, like a ball bouncing when it hits the ground. No choice involved, just predictable cause and effect. Response is conscious, deliberate, chosen, like an artist, selecting the perfect brush for each stroke, each movement, intentional, each action purposeful. When someone speaks harshly to you, you can react with matching harshness. This is the predictable path. The unconscious path, the path that leads to escalation, conflict, and suffering. Or you can respond with curiosity, with compassion, with strength, with silence. The choice is always yours. But most people have forgotten they have this choice because they have identified themselves with their illusion. They believe they are their anger. They believe they are their anger. They believe they are their frustration. They believe they are their reactions. This is false identity. You are not your emotion. You are the observer of your emotion. You are not your thoughts. You are the witness of your thoughts. You are not your reactions. You are the one who chooses your responses. Think of a clear mountain lake. On a calm day, the surface reflects the sky perfectly. On a windy day, the surface becomes disturbed, and the reflection becomes distorted. But the water itself remains pure. The disturbance is only on the surface. Your mind is like this lake. Emotions are like wind on the surface. They create temporary disturbances, but they do not change your essential nature. They do not contaminate your core being. They are simply movements on the surface of consciousness. Most people believe they must calm the wind to have peace. They try to control external circumstances. They demand that others behave in ways that don't disturb their surface. They exhaust themselves trying to manage the unmanageable. But the wise know a different secret. They allow the wind to blow while remaining connected to the stillness beneath. They let emotions arise while staying rooted in their deeper nature. They experience the surface disturbance while dwelling in the eternal calm that lies below. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is practical wisdom that can transform your life in this very moment. Right now, as you hear these words, notice what is happening in your mind. Thoughts are arising. Perhaps judgments about what you are hearing. Perhaps resistance. Perhaps prejudice. Perhaps skepticism. Just notice. Perhaps skepticism. Just notice. Don't fight the thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't try to change them. Simply observe them the way you would observe clouds passing in the sky. This is the beginning of freedom. This simple act of observation. This stepping back from identification with mental activity. This recognition that you are not the storm of thoughts and emotions, but the vast sky in which they arise and pass away. Most people are so identified with their mental activity that they have never experienced the peace of simply watching. They are caught in the storm, thinking they are the storm, never realizing they are the unchanging awareness in which the storm appears. But you can choose differently. In this moment, right now, the person who cut you off in traffic is not your enemy. They are your teacher. They are showing you where you still give your power away. They are revealing the places where you still believe external events control your internal state. The colleague who spoke harshly is not your opponent. They are your mirror. They are reflecting back to you the unconscious patterns that still run your life. They are giving you an opportunity to choose consciousness over automation. The boss who criticized your work is not your problem. They are your practice ground. They are providing you with the exact circumstances you need to develop inner strength. They are offering you a chance to respond rather than react. Every person who triggers you is actually serving you. They are showing you precisely where your freedom is still limited. They are pointing to the exact places where you still need to grow. This is why the ancient teachings speak of enemies as gifts, not because conflict is pleasant, but because it reveals what still needs to be mastered within. When you understand this, something shifts. The same situations that once threw you into chaos become opportunities for growth. The same people who once disturbed your peace become teachers in disguise. The same circumstances that once triggered automatic reactions become indications to conscious response. This is not about becoming passive. This is not about accepting poor treatment. This is not about allowing others to walk over you. This is about reclaiming your inner authority. This is about responding from strength rather than reacting from weakness. This is about choosing your actions based on wisdom rather than emotion. A master does not avoid conflict. A master engages with conflict from a centered place. A master can be firm without being angry, strong without being aggressive, direct without being reactive. The difference is not in what they do, but in the state from which they do it. Most people try to solve their emotional problems by changing external circumstances. They think the solution to anger is to eliminate everything that makes them angry. They believe the path to peace is to surround themselves only with agreeable people and pleasant situations. This approach is doomed to failure because it is based on a fundamental misunderstanding. It assumes that peace comes from circumstances rather than from consciousness. It believes that serenity is found in external arrangements rather than in internal mastery. The truth is exactly the opposite. Real peace comes not from perfect circumstances but from perfect understanding of your relationship to circumstances. True serenity arises not when life becomes easy, but when you become unshakable regardless of what life brings. Consider the nature of a tree. It does not become angry at the wind for blowing. It does not rage at the rain for falling. It does not resist the seasons for changing. It bends without breaking. It adapts without losing its essential nature. It remains rooted while allowing its branches to move. This is the wisdom you must cultivate. Not rigidity, but flexible strength. Not resistance, but intelligent adaptation. Not suppression, but conscious engagement. When someone speaks to you with anger, you do not need to match their energy. You can remain calm while they storm. You can stay centered while they spiral. You can respond with clarity while they react with confusion. This is not weakness. This is supreme strength. It takes tremendous power to remain still in the midst of chaos. It requires great discipline to choose response over reaction. It demands real mastery to stay conscious when everything around you is unconscious. But this strength is available to you right now. This power is already within you. This mastery is not something you need to acquire from outside. It is something you need to remember from within. The prison of reaction is not locked from the outside. The chains that bind you to automatic responses are not forged by others. The bars that separate you from inner freedom are not constructed by external circumstances. You are both the prisoner and the jailer. You are both the problem and the solution. You are both the one who created the prison and the one who holds the key to freedom. The moment you recognize this, everything changes. The moment you understand that your reactions are choices, you reclaim your power. The moment you realize that your emotions are not controlled by others, you step into mastery. This understanding is not intellectual. It is not something you think about. It is not something you think about. It is something you live, something you practice, something you embody moment by moment, choice by choice, response by response. And the practice begins now, not tomorrow, not when circumstances are perfect, not when you feel ready. Now, because now is the only moment where choice exists. Now is the only moment where choice exists. Now is the only time where freedom is possible. Now is the only place where transformation can occur. The next time someone triggers you, remember these words. The next time anger arises, remember you have a choice. The next time irritation surfaces, remember you are not the emotion, but the one who observes the emotion. In that moment of remembering, the prison door begins to open. In that instant of recognition, freedom becomes possible. In that space between stimulus and response, mastery awakens. This is just the beginning, and response mastery awakens. This is just the beginning. The foundation has been laid. The truth has been revealed. That truth without practice is merely interesting information. Wisdom without application is simply intellectual entertainment. What comes next will show you exactly how to build upon this foundation. How to develop the specific skills that transform understanding. How to develop the specific skills that transform understanding into unshakable inner strength. How to cultivate the precise abilities that allow you to remain centered no matter what storms may come. Understanding is only the first step. Knowledge without application remains powerless. You now know that reactions are choices, that knowing this and living this are two completely different things. How do you actually stay calm when someone attacks your character? How do you remain centered when everything around you falls apart? How do you choose response over reaction when every fiber of your being wants to strike back? The answer lies in three fundamental pillars that every master throughout history has used to build unshakable inner strength. These are not theories. These are not theories. These are not concepts. These are practical tools that work in the fire of real-life situations. The first pillar is the observer mind. Right now, thoughts are moving through your consciousness. Some supportive, some critical, some hopeful, some doubtful. Notice them. Don't love them. Don't judge them. Don't fight them. Simply watch them the way you would watch birds flying across the sky. This simple act of watching is the most powerful skill you can develop. Most people are so identified with their thoughts that they never realize they can observe them. They believe they are their thoughts rather than the awareness in which thoughts appear. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who knows your thoughts. You are the one who knows your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the one who experiences emotions. You are not your reactions. You are the one who can choose responses. This is the observer mind. The part of you that stands back and watches the mental activity without getting caught in it. The part of you that remains calm while emotions storm. The part of you that stays centered while thoughts spin. When someone insults you, most people immediately become the insult. They identify with the hurt. They merge with the anger. They become one with the reaction. But the observer mind does something different. It notices anger is arising, hurt is present, the urge to defend is strong. It observes these movements without becoming them. This creates space, and in that space, choice becomes possible. Think of anger as a fire. Most people pour gasoline on this fire by feeding it with thoughts of revenge, justification, and righteousness. They fan the flames with mental stories about how wrong the other person is and how right they are. The observer mind does the opposite. It notices the fire without adding fuel. It observes the anger without feeding it. It acknowledges the emotion without amplifying it. What happens to a fire when you stop feeding it? It naturally dies down, not because you thought it, but because you stopped giving it what it needs to grow. This is how you work with all disturbing emotions, not by suppressing them, not by expressing them unconsciously, by observing them with detached awareness. When your boss criticizes your work, instead of immediately defending or attacking, the observer mind notices. Defensive energy is rising. The urge to explain is strong. Heat is building in the chest. This simple observation creates a gap between the trigger and your response. In that gap, wisdom can arise. In that space you can arise. In that space you can choose how to respond rather than simply reacting automatically. Practice this right now. Notice whatever thoughts are present in your mind. Don't try to change them. Don't judge them as good or bad. Simply observe them with the same detachment you would observe clouds passing in the sky. See how the thoughts come and go by themselves. See how you don't need to do anything with them. This is the observer mind in action. The second pillar is the breath bridge. Your breath is the bridge between your unconscious reactions and your conscious responses. It is the link between your automatic patterns and your free choices. It is the pathway from emotional chaos to inner peace. When you are angry, what happens to your breathing? It becomes shallow, rapid, confined to the upper chest. When you are anxious, your breath becomes irregular and forced. When you are anxious, your breath becomes irregular and forced. When you are stressed, you often hold your breath altogether without realizing it. Your emotional state and your breathing pattern are intimately connected. Change one, and you change the other. Most people try to change their emotions directly. They fight anger with willpower. They battle anxiety with mental effort. They resist stress with psychological techniques. But there is a simpler way. Instead of fighting the emotion, work with the breath. Instead of battling the mental state, redirect the breathing pattern. When someone triggers you, immediately bring your attention to your breath. Not to analyze it, not to judge it, but to simply feel it. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Feel your chest and belly expanding. Feel the pause between inhale and exhale. Feel the air leaving your body. This simple act of conscious breathing does something miraculous. It activates your nervous system's natural calming response. It shifts you from reaction mode to response mode. It creates space between the trigger and your action. Try this technique right now. Take a slow deep breath through your nose. Let your belly expand as you inhale. Hold for just a moment. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, letting all the air leave your body. Notice what happens in your mind when you breathe this way. Notice how the mental chatter naturally quiets. Notice how your body begins to relax. This is the breath bridge working. But the real power comes in using this during actual conflict. When someone speaks harshly to you, your first instinct is to respond immediately. Instead, take one conscious breath, just one. In that single breath, you reclaim your power to choose. That one breath creates space between their words and your response. In that space, wisdom can arise. In that gap, you can choose to respond from strength rather than react from emotion. The breath bridge is always available to you. In traffic, when someone cuts you off, mind-conscious breath. During a heated argument with your partner, one conscious breath. When your child pushes every button you fight, one conscious breath. One breath is enough to shift from unconscious reaction to conscious response. But this requires practice, not just when you remember, but as a regular discipline. Throughout your day, return your attention to your breath. While walking, while working, while walking, while working, while listening to others speak. Make conscious breathing your default state rather than your emergency technique. Train yourself to live from this centered place so that when challenges arise, you are already grounded with them, with feeling already sponsored. The third pillar is the response choice. The response choice. Between every stimulus and every response lies a moment of pure potential. In that moment, you have infinite options. You can respond with anger or compassion. You can react with defensiveness or curiosity. You can choose aggression or wisdom. Most people collapse this space. The stimulus arrives, and immediately the response follows. No pause, no consideration, no conscious choice. But you can expand this space. You can create room for wisdom to arise. You can allow time for your deeper intelligence to guide your actions. This is the response choice. the conscious selection of how you will engage with whatever life presents. When someone criticizes you, you have multiple options. You can defend yourself aggressively. You can withdraw in hurt. You can attract them back. You can ignore them completely. You can listen with genuine curiosity to see if there is truth in their words. You can thank them for their perspective while maintaining your own center. All of these are choices. Most people select their response unconsciously based on old patterns and automatic. But you can choose consciously based on wisdom and desired outcomes. The response choice begins with a simple question. How do I want to respond to this? Not how do I feel like responding, but how do I want to respond? Your feelings will often push you toward reaction. Your wisdom will guide you toward response. When your colleague speaks rudely, your feelings might say, put them in their place, but your wisdom might say, stay centered and address this calmly. When traffic is slow, your emotions might say, they get angry and flated, but your wisdom might say, use this time to practice patience and presence. When plans might say, use this timing, might get in your automatic patterns might say, stress and worry, but your conscious choice might say, adapt and find new possibilities. This is not about suppressing feelings. This is about not being controlled by feelings. This is about acknowledging emotions while choosing responses based on wisdom rather than impulse. The response choice requires that you know what kind of person you want to be, what kind of energy you want to bring to situations, what kind of impact you want to have on others. Do you want to be someone who reacts or someone who responds? Do you want to be controlled by circumstances or centered regardless of circumstances? Do you want to spread chaos or cultivate peace? These questions help guide your choices in each moment. When you combine all three pillars, something extraordinary happens. The observer mind sees clearly what is happening without getting caught in it. The breath bridge keeps you centered and grounded. The response choice allows you to act from wisdom rather than emotion. Together these three create unshakable inner strengths. But understanding these pillars intellectually is not enough. You must practice them. You must train them. You must make them as natural as breathing itself. Start with small irritations. When you spill coffee on your shirt, practice the observer mind. Notice the frustration arising without becoming the frustration. Use the breath bridge to stay centered. Make the response choice to respond with patience rather than annoyance. When someone is slow in front of you in line, engage all three pillars. Observe your impatience without judgment. Breathe consciously to maintain your center. Choose to practice patience rather than express irritation. These small moments are your training ground. These minor challenges are where you build the strengths you will need for major difficulties. Think of a musician practicing scales. The scales themselves are not the music, but they develop the skills needed to play beautiful music. These daily practices with minor irritations are your scales. They develop the inner skills you need for life's symphonies and storms. When you have trained these pillars with small challenges, they become available for larger ones. When you have practiced conscious response with minor irritations, you can access these strengths during major conflicts. The key is consistency, not perfection, but practice. Not getting it right every time, but returning to the practice every time you remember. Some days you will forget completely and react automatically to everything. This is not failure, this is learning. Each time you notice you forgot, you are actually remembering. Each time you catch yourself reacting, you are developing the observer mind. The goal is not to never feel emotions. The goal is to feel emotions without being controlled by emotions. The goal is not to avoid all reactions. The goal is to choose your responses consciously more often than you react unconsciously. Over time something shifts. The same situations that once threw you into chaos begin to feel manageable. The same people who once triggered intense reactions become opportunities for practice. The same circumstances that once disturbed your peace become chances to demonstrate your growth. Others begin to notice the change. They see that you no longer react predictably to their provocations. They observe that you remain calm in situations that would normally create drama. They witness your responses coming from a centered place rather than emotional reactivity. This creates a ripple effect. When you stop reacting emotionally, others often calm down as well. When you respond from wisdom, you invite wisdom from others. When you maintain your center, you help others find their center. Conflict begins to resolve more quickly because you are not adding fuel to the fire. Tensions ease because you are not escalating them. Relationships improve because you are interacting from your best self rather than your reactive patterns. But the greatest benefit is internal. You begin to experience a kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances. You develop a strength that cannot be shaken by external events. You cultivate a confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life brings. This is not the confidence of someone who controls external circumstances. This is the confidence of someone who has mastered their internal responses. This is not the peace of someone who avoids all challenges. This is the peace of someone who remains centered through any challenge. The three pillars work together like legs of a tripod. Remove any one, and the structure becomes unstable. But when all three are present and strong, they create unshakable support for conscious living. The observer mind gives you perspective. The breath bridge gives you presence. The response choice gives you power, perspective to see clearly what is happening without getting lost in emotional interpretations, presence to remain grounded in your body and breath rather than spinning in mental stories, power to choose your actions based on wisdom rather than impulse. These are not mystical abilities reserved for enlightened masters. These are practical skills available to anyone willing to practice them. These are natural capacities that exist within every human being, waiting to be developed and strengthened. You already have everything you need. The observer mind is already present in your awareness. Your breath is already flowing in your body. The space for conscious choice already exists between every stimulus and response. The question is not whether you have these capacities. The question is whether you will use them, whether you will practice them, whether you will make them stronger through consistent application. Every moment offers you this opportunity. Every interaction gives you a chance to practice. Every challenge provides training for these essential skills. The person who cuts you off in traffic becomes your teacher in patience. The colleague who speaks rudely becomes your coach in conscious response. The family member who pushes your buttons becomes your trainer in emotional mastery. This is how masters are made, not through avoiding challenges, but through meeting challenges with consciousness, not through controlling circumstances, but through mastering responses to circumstances. The path is clear. The tools are available. The only thing remaining is practice. But practice alone is not enough. You must also integrate these skills into a complete way of being. You must learn to live from this centered place not just during conflicts but as your natural state. You must discover how to make these pillars so strong that nothing can shake your inner foundation. Practice creates ability, but mastery creates transformation. You now have the three pillars. Just mastery creates transformation. You now have the three pillars. You understand the tools. But how do you move from practicing these skills occasionally to living from them constantly? The answer lies in becoming the unmovable center of your own existence. What does it mean to be unmovable? It does not mean rigid.
It does not mean stubborn. It does not mean disconnected from life around you. Think of an ancient oak tree. Its roots run so deep that no storm can topple it. Its trunk is so strong that no wind can bend it beyond its breaking point. Yet its branches move gracefully with every breeze. Its leaves dance with the slightest air current. This is true unmovability, rooted strength that allows for fluid response. Deep stability that enables effortless adaptation. Unshakable center that needs natural movement. Most people confuse being unmovable with being unmoved. They think mastery means feeling nothing. They believe strength means showing no emotion. They imagine peace requires complete detachment from life.
This is a fundamental misunderstanding. The unmovable center is not numb. It is supremely alive. It is not disconnected. It is totally present. It is not emotionless. It experiences the full range of human feeling without being controlled by any feeling. When you live from this center, something extraordinary happens. You can engage fully with life while remaining internally free. You can care deeply about outcomes while not being attached to outcomes. You can feel emotions intensely while not being enslaved by emotions. This is the paradox that most people cannot understand. How can you care without attachment? How can you feel without being controlled? How can you engage without losing your center? The answer lies in understanding the difference between involvement and identification. Involvement means you participate fully in life. You work toward goals. You care about people. You feel emotions. You engage with challenges. You experience the full spectrum of human existence. Identification means you believe you are these experiences. You think you are your success or failure. You imagine you are your relationships. You assume you are your emotions. You confuse temporary experiences with permanent identity. The unmovable center is fully involved but never identified. It engages completely while remaining free. It participates totally while maintaining perspective. When your project at work faces difficulties, involvement means you work diligently to solve the problems. You care about the outcome. You invest energy and attention. You do everything within your power to create success. Identification means you believe you are the project. Your worth depends on its success. Your identity is tied to its outcome. Your peace is held hostage by its results. The unmovable center involves itself fully in the work while knowing that work results do not define inner worth. It cares about outcomes while understanding that inner peace does not depend on external achievements. This distinction changes everything. When you operate from involvement without identification, you become unstoppable. You can face any challenge because challenges cannot threaten your essential being. You can handle any failure because failure cannot diminish your core value. You can weather any storm because storms cannot disturb your inner foundation. But how do you actually live this way? How do you maintain this perspective when life feels overwhelming? How do you stay centered when everything around you seems to be falling apart? The secret lies in daily practice that goes beyond emergency techniques. It lies in building these qualities into your regular way of being, rather than trying to access them only during crisis. Every morning, before you engage with the world, spend time connecting with your unmovable center. Not through complicated rituals or lengthy meditations, but through simple awareness practices that ground you in your essential nature. Sit quietly for just a few minutes. Feel your breath moving naturally in your body. Notice the awareness that is watching your breath. Recognize the stillness that exists beneath all mental activity. Connect with the part of you that remains unchanged regardless of what happens in your day. This is not meditation in the formal sense. This is recognition of the unmovable center that is always present within you. Recognition of the peace that exists beneath all surface disturbances. Recognition of the strength that remains constant through all changing circumstances. When you start your day from this recognition, you carry this center with you into all your activities. When challenges arise, you are not trying to find your center. You are already centered. When conflicts emerge, you are not searching for peace. You are already peaceful. But true mastery reveals itself not in quiet moments of practice, but in the fire of real-life situations. How do you maintain your center when someone attacks your character publicly? How do you stay unmoved when someone you trust betrays you? How do you remain peaceful when facing serious health challenges or financial difficulties? These are the moments that reveal whether you have built genuine inner strength or simply learned some techniques for minor irritations. The unmovable center does not avoid these intense situations. It meets them with complete presence. It does not pretend they do not matter. It acknowledges their significance while maintaining perspective. It does not suppress the natural human responses. It feels everything while being controlled by nothing. When someone attacks your reputation, the unmovable center feels the natural hurt that comes with being misunderstood. It acknowledges the disappointment of being misrepresented. It recognizes the anger that arises from injustice. But it does not become these feelings. It does not let these emotions dictate its responses. It does not allow temporary pain to disturb permanent peace. Instead, it asks the essential questions. What does this situation require from me? How can I respond in a way that serves the highest good? What would wisdom do in this circumstance? These questions shift you from reactive victim to conscious participant. They move you from emotional chaos to centered response. They transform you from someone things happen to into someone who chooses how to engage with whatever happens. The unmovable center understands that other people's opinions, no matter how loudly expressed, cannot change your essential nature. Their words might sting, their actions might disappoint, their behavior might surprise, but none of this can touch the core of who you are. You are not their opinion of you. You are not their treatment of you. You are not their reaction to you. You are the unchanging awareness that observes all of these temporary experiences. When you truly understand this, criticism loses its power to devastate you. Praise loses its power to inflate you. Success loses its power to define you. Failure loses its power to destroy you. This is not indifference. This is freedom. Freedom to engage fully with life without being enslaved by life's inevitable ups and downs. But living from the unmovable center does not make you immune to all emotional pain. It does not eliminate all feelings of sadness, disappointment, or frustration. What it does is prevent these emotions from knocking you off your foundation. When grief arises, you feel it fully without being consumed by it. When disappointment comes, you acknowledge it completely without being defined by it. When anger surfaces, you experience it totally without being controlled by it. The emotions move through you like weather moves through the sky. Clouds form, rain falls, storms pass, and the sky remains unchanged. Feelings arise, intensity builds, experiences pass, and your essential nature remains untouched. This creates a completely different relationship with emotional pain. Instead of fighting it or being overwhelmed by it, you allow it to move through you naturally.
Instead of trying to avoid all difficult feelings, you develop the capacity to feel anything without losing your center. People around you begin to notice this quality. They see that you no longer react predictably to their moods and behaviors. They observe that you remain stable even when they are unstable. They witness that you can stay calm even when they are chaotic. This often triggers reactions in others. Some people will test your new strengths by pushing harder against your boundaries. Some will become uncomfortable with your stability because it highlights their own instability. Some will challenge your peace because they cannot find their own. The unmovable center does not take these reactions personally. It understands that other people's discomfort with your growth is about their relationship with themselves, not about you. It remains compassionate toward their struggle while maintaining firm boundaries around its own energy.
You learn to say no without guilt. When requests drain your energy unnecessarily, you learn to say yes without resentment. When situations genuinely call for your involvement, you learn to engage when engagement serves, and to withdraw when withdrawal serves. This is not selfishness. This is self-responsibility, taking responsibility for your own inner state so you can show up fully for others without depleting yourself. When you operate from the unmovable center, your presence itself becomes a gift to others. Your stability provides an anchor for those lost in emotional storms. Your peace offers refuge for those caught in mental chaos. Your strength gives permission for others to find their own strengths. You become someone others can count on, not because you fix their problems, but because you remain centered regardless of their problems. You become a source of calm, not because you avoid all conflicts, but because you meet conflicts from a peaceful place. This ripple effect extends far beyond your immediate relationships. Your family feels the difference when you stop reacting to their emotional dramas. Your co-workers notice the shift when you remain professional even during heated discussions. Your community benefits when you contribute from wisdom rather than emotion. But the greatest transformation happens within you. You begin to experience a kind of peace that you never knew was possible. Not the peace of someone who avoids all challenges, but the peace of someone who remains centered through any challenge. You develop confidence that cannot be shaken because it is not based on external achievements. You cultivate strengths that cannot be broken because it comes from inner resources. You find joy that cannot be stolen because it arises from your essential nature rather than temporary circumstances. This does not mean life becomes easy. Challenges still arise. Difficulties still occur. Pain still visits. But your relationship with these experiences changes completely. Instead of being victims of circumstance, you become conscious participants in life. Instead of being tossed about by every wind of change, you become the still center around which change occurs. Instead of being dependent on external conditions for inner peace, you become the source of peace regardless of conditions. The three pillars have become so integrated into your being that you no longer think about using them. The observer mind operates naturally, watching thoughts and emotions without getting caught in them. The breath bridge flows automatically, keeping you grounded and present. The response choice happens effortlessly, selecting wisdom over impulse. What once required conscious effort now occurs spontaneously. What once felt like swimming against the current now feels like floating downstream. What once demanded constant vigilance now happens with natural ease. You have become living proof that human beings can transcend their automatic programming. You demonstrate that consciousness can master conditioning.
You embody the truth that inner freedom is possible regardless of outer circumstances. Others may wonder how you remain so calm during crises. They may ask what techniques you use to stay centered. They may seek the secret to your unshakable peace. The answer is simple but profound. You stopped trying to control the uncontrollable and started mastering the only thing you can truly control: your own responses to whatever life brings. You stopped looking for peace in perfect circumstances and started finding peace in perfect understanding of your relationship to circumstances. You stopped seeking strength through avoiding challenges and started building strength through meeting challenges with consciousness. You stopped trying to eliminate all emotional pain and started developing the capacity to feel anything without losing your center. This is the path from reactive living to conscious living, from being controlled by emotions to experiencing emotions while remaining free, from being victims of circumstance to being masters of response. The journey that began with recognizing the prison of reaction has led to the freedom of conscious choice. The understanding that started with seeing anger as optional has grown into unshakable inner peace. The practice that began with simple observation has evolved into effortless mastery. You are no longer someone who sometimes remembers to respond consciously. You are someone who naturally lives from consciousness. You are no longer someone who occasionally accesses inner peace. You are someone who embodies peace as your natural state. This transformation is available to anyone willing to walk this path. The prison of reaction is always unlocked from the inside. The key to freedom always lies in your own hand. The power to change your experience of life always rests in your willingness to change your responses to life. The strongest warriors never fight because they have won the only battle that truly matters: the battle for mastery of their own mind. They have become unmovable, not through resistance, but through understanding. They have found unshakable peace not by avoiding all storms, but by becoming the calm center in which all storms can rage without disturbing the essential stillness within. This is your destiny. This is your potential. This is your birthright as a conscious human being. The time for excuses has ended. The time for blaming circumstances has passed. The time for waiting for perfect conditions has expired. The time for transformation is now.